According to existentialism, think of existence like a personalized journey. It's all about your story, my story, and everyone else's unique experiences. It's like being handed a menu of life's options, and we have to pick what dish to indulge in. But here's the catch: those options are influenced by our interactions with people and the world around us. So, essentially, we're all main characters in our own narratives, navigating through this wild ride called life, making choices that define who we are. It's like being the protagonist of your own movie, where every decision shapes the plot and the ending. So, what's your next scene going to be? With respect to the first point, that existence is particular, existentialism is opposed to any doctrine that views human beings as the manifestation of an absolute or of an infinite substance. It is thus opposed to most forms of idealism, such as those that stress consciousness, spirit, reason, idea, or oversoul. Second, it is opposed to any doctrine that sees in human beings some given and complete reality that must be resolved into its elements in order to be known or contemplated. It is thus opposed to any form of objectivism or scientism, since those approaches stress the crass reality of external fact. Third, existentialism is opposed to any form of necessitarianism, for existence is constituted by possibilities from among which the individual may choose and through which he can project himself. And, finally, with respect to the fourth point, existentialism is opposed to any solipsism holding that I alone exist, or any epistemological idealism holding that the objects of knowledge are mental, because existence, which is the relationship with other beings, always extends beyond itself, toward the being of those entities. It is, so to speak, transcendence. Existentialism is like a philosophical buffet offering various flavors to suit every palate. Picture this: it can take you on a journey to explore the divine, emphasizing the idea that there's something greater than ourselves guiding our existence. It's like finding solace in the notion that there's a higher power orchestrating the symphony of life. But hold on, it's not all about the divine. Existentialism can also empower you to embrace your own agency, to see yourself as the master of your destiny. It's like saying, hey, I'm the author of my own story, shaping my path with every decision. And then there's the humanistic angle, reminding us of our limitations and vulnerabilities. It's about acknowledging the boundaries of our existence while celebrating our shared humanity. So, whether you're seeking spiritual enlightenment, reveling in your autonomy, or embracing the beauty of being human, existentialism offers a smorgasbord of ideas to ponder. Which flavor resonates with you the most? Imagine existentialism is a vast landscape, with different trails leading to diverse destinations. As it spread across Europe from 1940 onwards, it branched out into various directions, each catering to different interests: the spiritual quest, pondering the nature of existence itself, and grappling with moral and political dilemmas. This rich tapestry of ideas didn't just pop out of thin air, it drew from a variety of sources. Take, for instance, the wisdom of St. Augustine, a theologian from centuries ago. He urged people to look within themselves for truth, suggesting that the answers we seek are often found in our own hearts and minds. It's like he's whispering, the truth you seek is already within you, you just have to listen. Then there's Friedrich Nietzsche, a 19th-century philosopher whose ideas were like a thunderstorm shaking the foundations of traditional thinking. He celebrated the chaotic, irrational aspects of life, encouraging individuals to embrace their raw, untamed essence. Nietzsche's vision was bold, envisioning a higher man who transcends conventional notions of morality, existing on a plane beyond good and evil. So, in this grand adventure of existentialism, we find echoes of ancient wisdom and revolutionary insights, each adding a unique hue to the canvas of human thought. It's a journey where the paths are as diverse as the landscapes they traverse. Which trail speaks to your soul? Still another source is the nihilism of the Russian author Fyodor Dostoevsky, who, in his novels, presented human beings as continually defeated as a result of their choices and as continually placed before the insoluble enigma of themselves. As a consequence of the diversity of such sources, existentialist doctrines focus on several aspects of existence. They focus, first, on the problematic character of the human situation, through which the individual is continually confronted with diverse possibilities or alternatives, among which he may choose and on the basis of which he can project his life. Second, the doctrines focus on the phenomena of that situation and especially on those that are negative or baffling, such as the concern or preoccupation that dominates the individual because of the dependence of all his possibilities upon his relationships with things and with other people, the dread of death or of the failure of his projects, the shipwreck upon insurmountable limit situations, death, the struggle and suffering inherent in every form of life, the situation in which everyone daily finds himself, the guilt inherent in the limitation of choices and in the responsibilities that derive from making them, the boredom from the repetition of situations, and the absurdity of his dangling between the infinity of his aspirations and the finitude of his possibilities. Third, the doctrines focus on the intersubjectivity that is inherent in existence and is understood either as a personal relationship between two individuals, I and thou, such that the thou may be another person or God, or as an impersonal relationship between the anonymous mass and the individual self deprived of any authentic communication with others. Existentialism delves deep into the very essence of existence itself, exploring the fundamental nature of being in a myriad of ways. It's like peeling back the layers of reality to uncover its hidden truths. One approach is to dissect the temporal dimension of existence, examining how time shapes our experience of being. It's like unraveling the intricate tapestry of past, present, and future that we're woven into. Then there's the linguistic angle, where the meanings of common words become clues to understanding being. It's as if language itself holds the key to unlocking the mysteries of existence, revealing glimpses of the profound amidst the mundane. For some, rational inquiry serves as a torchlight in the dark, illuminating the nature of the world, the soul, and even the divine. It's like deciphering cryptic symbols to uncover the hidden truths of existence. Existential psychoanalysis dives into the depths of the human psyche, laying bare the fundamental project that defines our existence. It's like shining a spotlight on the subconscious desires and motivations that drive our actions. And let's not forget about the exploration of possibility, the fundamental modality that shapes all aspects of existence. It's like mapping out the endless pathways of potentiality that stretch before us, each choice we make shaping our reality. In the vast terrain of existentialism, there are countless avenues to explore, each offering a unique perspective on the ultimate question: what does it mean to be? There is, in the fifth place, the therapeutic value of existential analysis that permits, on the one hand, the liberating of human existence from the beguilements or debasements to which it is subject in daily life and, on the other, the directing of human existence toward its authenticity, i.e., toward a relationship that is well grounded on itself, and with other humans, with the world, and with God. The various forms of existentialism may also be distinguished on the basis of language, which is an indication of the cultural traditions to which they belong and which often explains the differences in terminology among various authors. The principal representatives of German existentialism in the 20th century were Martin Heidegger and Karl Jaspers. Those of French personalistic existentialism were Gabriel Marcel and Jean-Paul Sartre. That of French phenomenology were Maurice Merleau-Ponty. That of Spanish existentialism was José Ortega y Gasset. That of Russian idealistic existentialism was Nikolai Berdyaev, who, however, lived half of his adult life in France, and that of Italian existentialism was Nicola Abignano. The linguistic differences, however, are not decisive for a determination of philosophical affinities. For example, Marcel and Sartre were farther apart than Heidegger and Sartre, and there was greater affinity between Abignano and Merleau-Ponty than between Merleau-Ponty and Marcel. Historical survey of existentialism. Many of the theses that existentialists defend or illustrate in their analyses are drawn from the wider philosophical tradition. Precursors of existentialism. The problem of what humans are in themselves can be discerned in the Socratic imperative, know thyself, as well as in the work of the 16th-century French essayist Michel de Montaigne and Blaise Pascal, a 17th-century French religious philosopher and mathematician. Montaigne had said, "If my mind could gain a foothold, I would not write essays, I would make decisions, but it is always in apprenticeship and on trial." And Pascal had insisted on the precarious position of humans situated between being and nothingness. We burn with the desire to find solid ground and an ultimate sure foundation whereon to build a tower reaching to the infinite. But our whole groundwork cracks, and the earth opens to abysses. The stance of the internal tribunal, of one's withdrawal into one's own spiritual interior, which reappeared in some existentialists, in Marcel and Sartre, for example, already belonged, as earlier noted, to St. Augustine. In early 19th century French philosophy, it was defended by a reformed ideologue of the French Revolution, Marie-Maine de Biron, who wrote, "Even from infancy I remember that I marveled at the sense of my existence. I was already led by instinct to look within myself in order to know how it was possible that I could be alive and be myself." From then on, that posture inspired a considerable part of French philosophy. The theme of the irreducibility of existence to reason, common to many existentialists, was also defended by the German idealist F. W. J. von Schelling as he argued against G. W. F. Hegel in the last phase of his philosophy. Schelling's polemic, in turn, inspired the thinker usually cited as the father of existentialism, the religious Dane Søren Kierkegaard. Imagine trying to understand the complexity of human experience. It's like peering into a kaleidoscope of emotions, memories, and dreams. Wilhelm Dilthey, a champion of historical reason, believed that to truly grasp humanity, we need a different approach than what science uses for studying natural phenomena. He introduced the concept of understanding, Verstehen, as the key to unlocking the mysteries of human sciences. But understanding isn't just about analyzing data or conducting experiments, it's about immersing ourselves in the lived experiences of others. Think of it as stepping into someone else's shoes and walking a mile in them. It's about not just observing but truly feeling what others feel, empathizing with their joys and sorrows, and sharing in their journey. So, when we strive to understand, we bridge the gap between the knower and the known, weaving a tapestry of empathy and connection that transcends mere intellectual comprehension. It's a journey of unity, where the boundaries between self and other blur, and empathy becomes our compass in navigating the vast landscape of human experience. Immediate background and founders. The theses of existentialism found a particular relevance during World War II, when Europe found itself threatened alternately by material and spiritual destruction. Under those circumstances of uncertainty, the optimism of romantic inspiration, by which the destiny of humankind is infallibly guaranteed by an infinite force such as reason, the absolute, or mind, and propelled by it toward an ineluctable progress, appeared to be untenable. Existentialism was moved to insist on the instability and the risk of all human reality, to acknowledge that the individual is thrown into the world, i.e., abandoned to a determinism that could render his initiatives impossible, and to hold that his very freedom is conditioned and hampered by limitations that could at any moment render it empty. The negative aspects of existence, such as pain, frustration, sickness, and death, which 19th century optimism refused to take seriously because they do not touch the infinite principle that those optimists believed to be manifest in humans, became for existentialism the essential features of human reality. Søren Kierkegaard. The thinkers who, by virtue of the negative character of their philosophy, constituted the exception to 19th century Romanticism thus became the acknowledged masters of the existentialists. Against Hegelian necessitarianism, Kierkegaard interpreted existence in terms of possibility. Dread, which dominates existence through and through, is the sentiment of the possible. It is the feeling of what can happen to a person even when he has made all of his calculations and taken every precaution. Despair, on the other hand, discovers in possibility its only remedy, for, if man remains without possibilities, it is as if he lacked air. The German philosopher and economist Karl Marx, in holding that the individual is constituted essentially by the relationships of work and production that tie him to things and other humans, had insisted on the alienating character that those relationships assume in capitalist society, where private property transforms the individual from an end to a means, from a person to the instrument of an impersonal process that subjugates him without regard for his needs and his desires. Nietzsche had viewed the amor fati, love of fate, as the formula for man's greatness. Freedom consists in desiring what is and what has been and in choosing it and loving it as if nothing better could be desired. Emergence is a movement. Modern existentialism reproduced such ideas and combined them in more or less coherent ways. Human existence is, for all the forms of existentialism, the projection of the future on the basis of the possibilities that constitute it. For some existentialists, Heidegger and Jaspers, for example, the existential possibilities, inasmuch as they are rooted in the past, merely lead every project for the future back to the past, so that only what has already been chosen can be chosen. Nietzsche's amor fati. For others, such as Sartre, the possibilities that are offered to existential choice are infinite and equivalent, such that the choice between them is indifferent, and for still others, Abignano and Merleau-Ponty, the existential possibilities are limited by the situation, but they neither determine the choice nor render it indifferent. The issue is one of individuating, in every concrete situation and by means of a specific inquiry, the real possibilities offered to humans. For all the existentialists, however, the choice among possibilities, i.e., the projection of existence, implies risks, renunciation, and limitation. Among the risks, the most serious is the descent into inauthenticity or alienation, the degradation from being a person into being a thing. Against that risk, for the theological forms of existentialism, e.g., Marcel, the Swiss theologian Karl Barth, and the German biblical scholar Rudolf Bultmann, there is the guarantee of transcendent help from God, which in its turn is guaranteed by faith. Existentialism, influenced by Kierkegaard and Nietzsche, often portrays our relationship with others as a struggle between individuality and collective existence. Some see societal constructs as draining our essence, while others find authenticity through meaningful connections and dialogue. So, while existentialism acknowledges the tension between individuality and community, it also highlights the potential for genuine connection to enrich our lives. Franz Kafka. Existentialism has had ramifications in various areas of contemporary culture. In literature, Franz Kafka, author of haunting novels, walking in Kierkegaard's footsteps, described human existence as the quest for a stable, secure, and radiant reality that continually eludes it. Das Schloss 1926. The castle, or is threatened by a guilty verdict about which it knows neither the reason nor the circumstances but against which it can do nothing. A verdict that ends with death. Der Prozess 1925. The trial. The theses of contemporary existentialism were then diffused and popularized by the novels and plays of Sartre and by the writings of the French novelists and dramatist Simone de Beauvoir, an important philosopher of existentialism in her own right, and Albert Camus. In L'Homme Revolte 1951, the rebel Camus described the metaphysical rebellion as the movement by which a man protests against his condition and against the whole of creation. In art, the analogues of existentialism may be considered to be surrealism, expressionism, and in general those schools that view the work of art not as the reflection of a reality external to humans but as the free immediate expression of human reality. Existentialism made its entrance into psychopathology through Jaspers's Allgemeine Psychopathologie 1913. General psychopathology, which was inspired by the need to understand the world in which the mental patient lives by means of a sympathetic participation in his experience. Later, the Swiss psychiatrist Ludwig Binswanger, in one of his celebrated works, Über Ideenflucht 1933, On the Flight of Ideas, inspired by Heidegger's thought, viewed the origin of mental illness as a failure in the existential possibilities that constitute human existence. Dasein. From Jaspers and Binswanger, the existentialist current became diffused and variously stated in contemporary psychiatry. Barth's Römerbrief kickstarted a revival of Kierkegaard's ideas in theology, focusing on the intimate relationship between God and humanity as the central theme of both the Bible and philosophy. This movement emphasized God's absolute transcendence, requiring individuals to deny themselves and embrace faith as a gift. At the same time, there was a push to demythologize religious content, especially within Christianity, to reveal the message of salvation amidst human existential struggles. It was about stripping away the layers of tradition to uncover the profound truth of the eschatological event, the promise of redemption and renewal. Methodological issues in existentialism. The methods that existentialists employ in their interpretations have a presupposition in common: the immediacy of the relationship between the interpreter and the interpreted, between the interrogator and the interrogated, between the problem of being and being itself. The two terms coincide in existence. The person who poses the question, "What is being?" cannot but pose it to himself and cannot respond without starting from his own being. Martin Heidegger. That common ground notwithstanding, each existentialist thinker has defended and worked out his own method for the interpretation of existence. Heidegger, an existentialist with ontological concerns, availed himself of the philosophy of Edmund Husserl, the founder of phenomenology, which employs speech that manifests or discloses what it is that one is speaking about and that is true, in the etymological use of the Greek word aletheia, i.e., the sense of uncovering or manifesting what was hidden. The phenomenon is, from Heidegger's point of view, not mere appearance, but the manifestation or disclosure of being in itself. Phenomenology is thus capable of disclosing the structure of being and hence is an ontology of which the point of departure is the being of the one who poses the question about being, namely, the human being. Karl Jaspers. On the other hand, Jaspers, an authority in psychopathology as well as in the philosophy of human existence, employed the method of the rational clarification of existence. He maintained that existence, as the quest for being, is humanity's effort of rational self-understanding, or universalizing, and of communicating, a method that presupposes that existence and reason are the two poles of the being of humans. Reason as possible existence, i.e., existence that, as Jaspers wrote in his Vernunft und Existenz 1935, reason and existence becomes manifest to itself and is such real, if, with, through and by another existence, it arrives at itself. Such activity, however, is never consummated. Thus, when the impossibility of its achievement is recognized, it is changed into faith, into the recognition of transcendence as providing the only possibility of its final achievement. Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre, the leading philosopher of mid-20th century France, believed that the essence of philosophy lies in existential psychoanalysis, a deep dive into the fundamental project that defines human existence. Unlike Freudian psychoanalysis, which focuses on the primal instincts of the libido, existential psychoanalysis seeks to uncover the original choice through which humans shape their reality and make preliminary decisions. However, these choices can sometimes challenge the very foundation of the original decision, creating a crisis of identity and purpose. Gabriel Marcel. According to Marcel, the method of philosophy depends upon a recognition of the mystery of being, Le Mystère de l'être, 1951, the mystery of being, i.e., of the impossibility of discovering being through objective or rational analyses or demonstrations. Philosophy should lead humanity up, however, to the point of making possible the productive illumination of revelation. Finally, according to humanistic existentialism, as represented by Abignano and Merleau-Ponty, the method of philosophy consists of the analysis and the determination, by employing all available techniques, including those of science, of the structures that constitute existence, i.e., of the relations that connect the individual with other beings and that figure, therefore, not only in the constitution of the individual but in the constitution of other beings as well. Substantive issues in existentialism. Fundamental concepts and contrasts. Both the ontology and manner of human existence are of concern to existentialism. Ontic structure of human existence. The fundamental characteristic of existentialist ontology is the primacy that study of the nature of existence gives to the concept of possibility. That priority dominated the philosophy of Kierkegaard and also was amply utilized by Husserl, who had explicitly affirmed the ontological priority of possibility over reality. Possibility, however, is not understood by the existentialists in the purely logical sense as absence of contradiction nor in the traditional metaphysical sense as potentiality destined to become actuality but, rather, in the sense of ontic or objective possibility, which is the very structure of human existence. It is thus the specific modality of the being of humans. Another way of expressing that thesis is the affirmation of Heidegger and Sartre that existence precedes essence, which signifies that humans do not have a nature that determines their modes of being and acting but that, rather, those modes are simply possibilities from which they may choose and on the basis of which they can project themselves. In that sense, Heidegger said that, Dasein is always its own possibility, and Sartre wrote, it is true that the possible is, so to speak, an option on being, and if it is true that the possible can come into the world only through a being which is its own possibility, this implies for human reality the necessity of being its being in the form of an option on its being. As possibility, human existence is the anticipation, the expectation, the projection of the future. The future is its fundamental temporal dimension, to which the present and the past are subordinate and secondary. Existence is always stretched out toward the future. As possibility, existence is also transcendence, being beyond, because all of its constitutive possibilities organize it beyond itself toward the other beings of the world and toward the world in its totality. To transcend thus means to move toward something that is not one's own existence, i.e., toward things and toward other humans, with which the individual is related in every situation in which he finds himself. Yet, for some existentialists, the being of those other entities has a modality that differs from the being of humans' existence. Their existence is not possible being but real or factual being. To existence, Heidegger contrasted the presence of the things in the world, a presence that assumes, as the individual takes notice of such things for his needs, the aspect of utilizability. But utilizability is not a simple quality of things, it is their very being. Analogously, Sartre distinguished the for itself, the mode of being of humans' existence that he identifies, following René Descartes and Husserl, with consciousness, from the in itself, the being or reality of things that he identifies with their utilizability. According to Jaspers, over against the existence of the possible humanity, Dasein stands the world as the infinite horizon that encompasses within itself each possible existence and, therefore, cannot itself be encompassed by any one of them. It is a world that is a reality of fact, at the origin of which there is a being that is pure transcendence and that, therefore, never reveals itself. Similarly, the religious forms of existentialism insist on transcendence, considering it to be the property of the being that is beyond the existential possibilities and that can enter among them solely under the form of mystery, Marcel, and of the extratemporal revelation of faith, Barth. Jaspers. Marcel, in that regard, contrasted being, which is a mystery, with having, which is the condition of humans in the world. That is to say, the individual has objects before him that are foreign to his subjectivity. He tries to organize them and discover the bond that ties them together so as to control and use them. In all such doctrines, there is the dominating theme of the contrast between the modality proper to existence, which is possibility, and the modality proper to being, which is reality or facticity. As a result of that contrast, existence, as possibility, appears as the nothingness of being, as the negation of every reality of fact. In a brief but famous work, Was Ist Metaphysic? 1929, What is Metaphysics? Heidegger affirmed that, human existence cannot have a relationship with being unless it remains in the midst of nothingness. Rudolf Carnap, a leading member of the movement known as logical positivism, in an equally famous essay, Überwindung der Metaphysik durch die Logik Analyse der Sprache, 1931, The Elimination of Metaphysics Through Logical Analysis of Language, criticized the hypostatization, or making real, of nothingness as one of the grosser fallacies of metaphysics. In truth, nothingness is, for the existentialists, possible existence, as the negation of the reality of fact. Sartre wrote, "The possible is the something which the for itself lacks in order to be itself. It is what the subject lacks in order to be an object. Thus, it does not exist except as a lacking." The same is true of value, which is such insofar as it does not exist. For even when value occurs or is perceived in certain acts, it lies beyond them and constitutes the limit or the goal toward which they aim. Analogously, knowledge, in which the object, the in itself, presents itself to consciousness, the for itself, is a relationship of nullification, because the object cannot be offered to consciousness except as that which is not consciousness. Furthermore, another existence is such insofar as it is not mine. Thus, the negation is the constitutive structure of the being of others. But the reduction of existence to nothingness can lead in two directions. It can lead to insisting on the lack of meaning, i.e., on the absurdity of existence and of every possible project, as it does in Sartre, in Camus, and in atheistic existentialism, or it can lead toward the quest for a more direct relationship of existence with being, beyond the constitutive possibilities of existence, so that being reveals itself, at least partly, in existence, through language or through faith or through some mystical form of religiousness, as happens in the later phase of Heidegger's thought, in Jaspers, and in all of the forms of theological existentialism. Existentialism explores the manner and style of human existence, navigating between solipsism and humanism. While some see human destiny as a product of our own choices, others emphasize the initiative of being over human existence itself. For Heidegger and Jaspers, our situation determines the choices we make, while Sartre argues that our choices shape our situation. This creates a tension between accepting our predetermined fate and embracing radical freedom. Regardless of perspective, every choice offers a chance to confront our own nothingness. Authentic existence, according to Heidegger, comes from understanding the impossibility of all existence possibilities, with death serving as its sign. Similarly, Jaspers suggests that our only choice lies in accepting or rejecting our identified situation. Existentialist ontology oscillates between being and nothingness, with nothingness often seen as the revelation of being. In the atheistic view, individuals strive to fill the void, while in theological interpretations, being intervenes to redeem from nothingness. Existentialism grapples with fundamental questions about humanity, human relationships, and ultimate significance. It rejects the traditional mind-body dualism, viewing the body as an integral part of human existence in its relationship with the world. Consciousness, for existentialists, is a constant openness to the world, transcending the subjective-objective divide. This view emphasizes individuality and uniqueness, with human reality being both self-aware and inseparable from the world it inhabits. All such modes of being thus arise, as Heidegger showed in his masterpiece Sein und Zeit 1927, being and time, from the relationship between the self and the world. Heidegger regarded concern to be the fundamental aspect of that relationship, insofar as it is the individual's concern to obtain the things that are necessary for him and even to transform them with his work as well as to exchange them so as to make them more suitable to his needs. Concern demonstrates that the individual is thrown into the world, into the midst of other beings, so that in order to project himself he must exist among them and utilize them. Being thrown means, for humans, being abandoned to the whirling flow of things in the world and to their determinism. That abandonment happens inevitably, according to Heidegger, in inauthentic existence, day-to-day and anonymous existence in which all behavior is reduced to the same level, made, official, conventional, and insignificant. Chatter, idle curiosity, and equivocation are the characteristics of such existence, in which, one says this, and one does that, reign undisputed. Anonymous existence amounts to a simple, being together, with others, not a true coexistence, which is obtained only through the acceptance of a common destiny. Western philosophy, the existentialism of Jaspers and Sartre. All of the existentialists are in agreement on the difficulty of communication, i.e., of well-grounded intersubjective relationships. Jaspers is perhaps the one to insist most on the relationship between truth and communication. Truths are and can be different from existence. But if fanaticism and dogmatism, which absolutize a historical truth, are avoided on the one hand while relativism and skepticism, which affirm the equivalence of all truths, are avoided on the other, then the only other way is a constant confrontation between the different truths through an always more extended and deepened intersubjective communication. Sartre, however, denied that there is authentic communication. According to him, consciousness is not only the nullification of things but also the nullification of the other person as other. To look at another person is to make of him a thing. Such is the profound meaning of the myth of Medusa. Sexuality itself, which Sartre held to be an essential aspect of existence, fluctuates between sadism and masochism, in which either the other person or oneself is merely a thing. On that basis, the intersubjective relationship is obviously impossible. The human situation in the world. Heidegger pointed to the foundation of the intersubjective relationship in dread. When a person decides to escape from the banality of anonymous existence, which hides the nothingness of existence, or the non-reality of its possibilities, behind the mask of daily concerns, his understanding of that nothingness leads him to choose the only unconditioned and insurmountable possibility that belongs to him: death. The possibility of death, unlike the possibilities that relate him to other things and to other humans, isolates him. It is a certain possibility, not through its apodictic evidence but because it continuously weighs upon existence. To understand that possibility means to decide for it, to acknowledge the possibility of the impossibility of any existence at all, and to live for death. The emotive tonality that accompanies such understanding is dread, through which the individual feels himself to be face to face with the nothing of the possible impossibility of his existence. But neither the understanding of death nor its emotive accompaniment opens up a specific task, a way to transform one's own situation in the world. They enable one only to perceive the common destiny to which all humans are subject, and they offer, therefore, the possibility of remaining faithful to that destiny and of freely accepting the necessity that all humans have in common. In that fidelity consists the historicity of existence, which is the repetition of tradition, the return to the possibilities from which existence had earlier been constituted, the wanting for the future what has been in the past. And in that historicity participate not only humans but all of the things of the world, in their utilizability and instrumentality, and even the totality of nature as the locus of history. Dread, in existentialism, isn't just fear of a specific threat, it's the profound understanding of the emptiness of possibilities or the potential for nothingness. It serves a therapeutic purpose by guiding individuals towards authenticity. To escape the trap of factual existence, one must either fully embrace their situation or become indifferent to any possible projects. The heart of existentialism lies in the contrast between possibility and reality. Existence is seen through the lens of effective possibilities that define human existence, yet it's also confronted by an oppressive reality. This contradiction becomes apparent when reality itself is interpreted in terms of possibility, reducing beings to their utilitarian value or potential relationships. A coherent existentialism must avoid constantly oscillating between being and nothingness, recognizing the problematic nature of existence without resigning to it. It shouldn't confuse choice with determinism or freedom with acknowledging the omnipresent necessity of the whole. There's an argument for existentialism benefiting from a deeper engagement with science, which extensively employs the concept of possibility in various interdisciplinary fields. Some thinkers, like Abignano and Merleau-Ponty, took steps in this direction. Merleau-Ponty suggests that considerations of probability are rooted in human existence, as individuals navigate the ambiguity of events within the world. He emphasizes that while our freedom engages with our situation, the openness of our situation allows for varying degrees of freedom. The significance of being and transcendence is central to many existentialist thinkers. Heidegger emphasizes the overwhelming presence of being, attributing all initiative to it while humans can only abandon themselves to it. Jaspers sees the revelation of transcendence in various symbols, especially in limit situations that provoke a recognition of absolute transcendence. Other thinkers, like Marcel and Louis Lavelle, understand being as mystery or absolute value. Existentialism also has theological implications. Heidegger, though not an atheist, didn't attribute divine qualities to the being he spoke of. Jaspers, however, emphasized the religious nature of faith in transcendence, seeing it as a return to the encompassing whole. He even developed a theology of history, proposing the idea of an axial age that marked humanity's awareness of being and its limits, suggesting that our current age of science and technology might be the start of a new era of destiny for humanity. Rudolf Bultmann. For Bultmann, the theologian of the demythologization of Christianity, inauthentic existence is tied to the past, to fact, to the world, while authentic existence is open to the future, to the non-fact, to the non-world, i.e., to the end of the world and to God. Thus, authentic existence is not the self-projection of humans in the world but, rather, the self-projection of humans in the love of and obedience to God. But that self-projection is no longer the work of human freedom, It is the saving event that enters miraculously through faith into the future possibilities of humans. In such theological speculations and in others that are comparable, the common presupposition of the existentialists is recognized, i.e., the gap between human existence and being. There is either an acknowledgement of that gap, with existence assuming the role of the demonic, the alternative that Sartre and others have all illustrated above all in their literary works, or an acknowledgement of the hidden participation of human existence in being through a gratuitous initiative on the part of being. Kierkegaard had earlier distinguished three stages of existence between which there is neither development nor continuity but gaps and jumps. The aesthetic stage is the one in which one lives for the pleasure of the moment. The ethical stage is the one based on the stability and continuity of life in work and in matrimony, and the religious stage is the one characterized by faith, which is always a dreadful certainty, i.e., a dread that becomes certain of a hidden relationship with God. The ethical and religious stages correspond roughly to what Heidegger and Jaspers called, respectively, the inauthenticity and the authenticity of existence. Art was not as a rule recognized by modern existentialists as an autonomous stage, it was almost always for them an essential manifestation of existence itself. For Jaspers, it is a mode of reading in nature, in history, and in humans the cipher of transcendence, i.e., the negative symbol in which transcendence is revealed. According to Camus, it is an aspect of human revolt against the world. The artist tries to remake the sketch of the world that is before him and to give it the style, that is to say, the coherence and unity, that it lacks. For that purpose, he selects the elements of the world and freely combines them in order to create a value that escapes humans continuously but that the artist perceives and tries to salvage from the flux of history. From that point of view, art would be a way of reshaping the world beyond its factual forms, in order that it might show their negative and troublesome characteristics. The directions of contemporary art that have deliberately forsaken the imitation of reality find their justification in that point of view. Social and historical projections of existentialism. José Ortega y Gasset, the Spanish existentialist, acknowledged the metaphysical dimension of existentialism but found humanity faced with resigning to being amidst a crisis of uncertainty. Yet, humanistic existentialism, exemplified by thinkers like Merleau-Ponty, saw humans as having a positive role in shaping history and society. This line of thinking led existentialism towards Marxism, sharing diagnoses of existence as rooted in human relationships with nature and society. Sartre attempted to synthesize existentialism and Marxism in his Critique of Dialectical Reason, integrating the notion of project with Marx's dialectic. Here, the project is conditioned by objective possibilities, aiming towards totalization through human groups and historical processes. However, this transition from individual freedom to dialectical necessity raised questions about the authentic character of existentialism. The transcendental project, proposed by figures like Herbert Marcuse, sought societal change but risked losing awareness of its realization and conditions. Existentialism's diverse paths have provided conceptual tools for contemporary philosophy and culture, yet their precise nature and application remain unclear. Terms like possibility, choice, and freedom demand ontological clarity to avoid reduction to mere nothingness or being. Recognizing possibility as a positive datum, albeit with calculated risks, allows for projection and action in the world with prudent trust. Thank you for watching our video.